There are many hidden gem motorcycles that no one knows about selling for prices lower than you've ever seen. But you have to act fast, because more and more people are finding out about them as we speak. These are the top 10 gem motorcycles you can buy for an absolute steal. Kicking off our list at number 10 is the Honda ADV160. The ADV160 isn't your typical grocery getter. This thing is a wolf in scooter's clothing, built to handle the daily grind and a bit of light off-road mayhem without blinking. It's powered by a 157cc single-cylinder engine, tuned for smooth, predictable performance. It's not going to win any races, but it'll beat traffic to every red light and never complain about the gas bill. Here's where it gets wild. This scooter has over 7 inches of ground clearance. Let that sink in. That's more clearance than some dual sport bikes. It also rocks adventure bike bodywork, a comfy upright seating position, and a ride so buttery smooth you'll wonder why you ever dealt with a clutch. And fuel economy? We're talking over 100 miles per gallon. That's right, 100. The underseat storage can swallow a full-face helmet, and the automatic CVT transmission makes every ride idiot-proof in the best way. No shifting, no stress, just twist and go. Brand new. These run around $4,500. But smart buyers are scooping up dealer demos or seasonal markdowns for even less. While hardcore riders turn their noses up, real-world commuters and urban explorers are out there quietly winning. The ADV160 is proof you don't need to drop 10 grand to have a blast on 2 wheels. But if scooters still aren't your thing, the next bike steps it up with sport bike DNA and street-friendly comfort. Coming in at number 9 is the Yamaha MT03. This is one of those bikes that flies under everyone's radar. Lightweight, punchy, and so underrated it hurts. Under the tank sits a 321cc parallel twin, the same engine you'll find in the R3, but tuned for a different kind of fun. You're looking at around 42 horsepower and 29 pound-feet of torque in a package that weighs just under 375 pounds. Translation? This thing rips in the city and doesn't flinch on the highway. Where the MT03 really shines is its real-world usability. The upright handlebars, roomy cockpit, and easy clutch make it a perfect beginner bike. But it's got just enough snap to keep experienced riders entertained, especially on tight back roads. You get all the fun of a sport bike without the wrist pain, and without looking like you're headed for a track day. The problem? Everyone's either chasing the fully fared R3 or jumping straight to the MT07. That leaves this little monster overlooked. And that's your opportunity. Used models, especially from 2020 onward, with the sleeker design and LED upgrades, can often be found for between $3,500 and $4,000. It's comfortable, capable, and criminally undervalued. But the next bike? It doesn't just fly under the radar, it slips through the cracks of the entire adventure segment. If you thought this was a deal, wait until you see what kind of off-road capability you can get without breaking 5 grand. Rolling in at number 8 is the Honda CB500X. This is the bike for riders who want real adventure capability without the weight, wallet pain, or maintenance headaches of the big ADV machines. It's not trying to impress with gimmicks. It just works, and it works almost everywhere. At the heart of the CB500X is a 471cc parallel twin that cranks out around 47 horsepower and 32 pound-feet of torque. It may not sound like much on paper, but twist the throttle and you'll find a power band that's smooth, responsive, and surprisingly punchy, especially for highway passing or 2-up weekend getaways. It's got 7 inches of ground clearance, a relaxed upright riding position, and suspension travel that soaks up potholes, gravel, or whatever your GPS forgot to mention. And Honda being Honda, it'll run for over 100,000 miles if you just change the oil once in a while. The beauty of the CB500X is its versatility. Commuter during the week, road tripper on Saturday, fire road explorer on Sunday. This bike doesn't care what role you throw at it. It's already overqualified. And because it doesn't carry the cult status of the Africa Twin or flashy Euro brands, it stays affordable. Clean 2019. And up models, those with the updated suspension and sharper styling, often go for between $4,500 and $5,500. That's pennies for what this machine can do. But if you think a practical ADV bike is underrated, wait until you see the next one. It looks like it belongs in a museum, runs like it was built yesterday, and costs less than most riders spend on gear. Sliding into number 7 is the Suzuki TU250X. This one's easy to miss, mostly because it looks like it time-traveled straight from the 70s. But under that retro shell, a fuel-injected modern classic that delivers more charm per mile than bikes twice its price. The TU250X is powered by a 250cc single-cylinder engine that puts out 16 horsepower and 14 pound-feet of torque. Modest numbers, sure, but in a bike that weighs just 326 pounds wet, it's got all the pep you need for carving city streets, cruising back roads, or even teaching someone how to ride. The real joy here is simplicity. This is motorcycling stripped to the essentials: lightweight, nimble, and dead easy to maintain. Oil changes take minutes. Valve adjustments? Garage wrench level stuff. You don't need a diagnostic tool or a dealer appointment. You just need a basic toolkit and some common sense. And here's the kicker. These bikes are still floating around dealer lots or classifieds for peanuts. Well-kept used examples often go for under $3,500. That's absurd for a modern fuel-injected bike with old-school looks and bulletproof reliability. Most riders pass on it because it's too small or too vintage. But anyone who's owned one knows. It's the kind of bike you fall in love with after owning something bigger and realizing that simple often means better. But if this vintage looker feels a little too polite, the next machine on the list brings the noise. British-born, torque-rich, and built to turn heads while staying shockingly affordable. Claiming the number 6 spot is the Triumph Scrambler 900. If you've ever wanted a British twin that oozes character but doesn't come with a snobby price tag, this is your bike. The Scrambler 900 brings classic Bonneville DNA, mixes in off-road flair, and packages it into something way cooler than its spec sheet suggests. It's powered by a 900cc parallel twin that cranks out around 65 horsepower and 59 pound-feet of torque. But forget the numbers, this engine's all about feel. It's tuned for low-end grunt, delivers that signature thump through the pegs, and sings with a throaty exhaust note that just makes every ride feel like an event. Where it really stands out is how it balances style with approachability. The flat seat, higher pegs, and upright stance give it a scrambler profile, but it rides like a street bike with attitude. Perfect for commuting, weekend blasts, or just parking it somewhere people can stare at it. It gets overshadowed by its flashier siblings, the Bonneville T120 and the larger Scrambler 1200. But here's the secret. The 900 gives you almost the same riding experience, the same build quality, and that same old-school cool. For thousands less. Lightly used models? You can find them floating in the $6,500 to $8,000 range. And because many owners end up trading up to something bigger, the used market is flush with low-mileage, well-kept examples. If you want a bike that feels like a classic but rides like a modern, this one nails the vibe. But let's say utility matters more than nostalgia, because the next machine isn't just cool. It might be the most brilliantly practical motorcycle no one's talking about. Halfway through the list at number 5 is the Honda NC750X. On paper, it shouldn't work. Low redline, storage where the tank should be, an engine borrowed from a car. But swing a leg over it, and suddenly, it all makes sense. This is Honda doing what Honda does best, engineering something completely different that ends up being kind of brilliant. The NC750X is powered by a 745cc parallel twin that puts out around 54 horsepower and 50 pound-feet of torque. The focus here isn't flash, it's usability. That torque hits early, and the delivery is buttery smooth. Ideal for daily riding, highway runs, or fully loaded weekend getaways. And let's talk about that tank. Honda ditched it in favor of a built-in trunk. You can literally fit a full-face helmet in there. The real gas tank's hidden under the seat, which lowers the center of gravity and makes the bike feel lighter than it is. It's one of those, why doesn't every bike do this moments? Fuel economy? Over 60 miles per gallon. You can ride this thing all week and forget where the nearest gas station even is. It's available in both manual and DCT versions, the latter giving you automatic shifts or paddle-style manual control without a clutch lever. Because it's practical and doesn't scream performance, most riders skip right past it. But that's a mistake. Used NC750X models, especially the DCT versions, can be found in the $5,000 to $6,500 range. For a commuter tourer hybrid that's this reliable, that's an absolute steal. Looking for a machine that quietly rewrites the rules of motorcycle design? This is it. Need something tougher? More rugged? A bike that can do everything and won't quit? This next one's built for it. Landing at number 4 is the Kawasaki Versus 650. This thing is a shapeshifter. Part sport bike, part adventure tourer, part commuter. And somehow, it nails all three without breaking a sweat. Most riders ignore it because it doesn't fit neatly into a box. That's their mistake. The Versus 650 runs on a 649cc parallel twin that delivers around 64 horsepower and 45 pound-feet of torque. That's a sweet spot for real-world power. Not overwhelming, but absolutely enough to cruise at highway speeds, carve up twisty back roads, or haul a passenger and gear on a long weekend ride. It's got upright ergos, long travel suspension, and a manageable wet weight just under 455 pounds. You could ride this thing to work all week, then blast up into the mountains without even swapping tires. And with its tall stance and wide bars, it gives you the feel of a full ADV bike without the bulk or cost. The real reason it flies under the radar? It's not flashy. It doesn't scream performance. It just quietly does everything well. And because it doesn't have a fan club like the Ninja or the KLR, prices stay friendly. Look for 2015 and newer models with the updated styling and windscreen. Clean examples regularly go for between $4,500 and $6,000. This is the kind of bike that grows on you fast and earns your respect with every mile. Ready for chaos on two wheels? This next bike isn't just fast, it's feral, fun, and flat-out addictive. Crashing into the top 3 is the Suzuki DRZ 400 SM. This isn't just a motorcycle, it's a troublemaker on two wheels. Lightweight, rowdy, and built to be flicked around like a BMX bike with an engine. If you've never ridden a supermoto, this is the gateway drug. The DRZ 400 SM is powered by a 398cc single-cylinder engine that puts down 39 horsepower and 29 pound-feet of torque. Doesn't sound like much, right? But then you remember the whole bike weighs just 321 pounds wet. That power-to-weight ratio makes this thing an absolute weapon in the city and a blast on back roads. It's agile, it's responsive, and it practically begs you to misbehave. Wheelies, stoppies, curb hops, you name it. With long travel suspension borrowed from Suzuki's dirt lineup and 17-inch wheels wrapped in sticky street tires, it soaks up rough pavement and still rails through corners like a sport bike. Here's the wild part. Suzuki has been building this exact bike since 2005 with barely any changes. That means easy parts access, huge aftermarket support, and a reputation for bulletproof reliability. You can pick up used examples, often tastefully modded, for anywhere between $5,000 and $6,500. It never got mass market love, but riders in the know treat it like gold. Think this thing is wild? Just wait. The next bike isn't loud, flashy, or aggressive, but it's Italian, exotic, and surprisingly affordable. If you've ever dreamed of owning something rare without wrecking your wallet, don't blink. Just shy of the top spot at number 2 is the Moto Guzzi V7 Classic. This one's got an old-world soul wrapped in retro styling. But don't be fooled. Beneath the vintage lines is one of the most unique and rewarding rides you can get your hands on without spending Ducati money. The V7 Classic is powered by a 744 cubic centimeter transverse V-twin. That means the cylinders stick out sideways, and the whole engine gives off a gentle side-to-side rock at idle. Totally distinct from anything else on this list. It's good for around 50 horsepower and 44 pound-feet of torque. Smooth, torquey, and loaded with character from the first blip of the throttle. And instead of a chain or belt, it runs a shaft drive. Quiet, clean, and nearly maintenance-free. That alone puts it in rare company, especially in this price bracket. So why don't more people buy these? Easy. Moto Guzzi doesn't have a massive dealer network, and most riders don't know what they're looking at when one rolls by. That means prices stay shockingly low, often in the $5,500 to $7,000 range for clean, fuel-injected models from 2012 and up. This is Italian engineering with vintage swagger and a whole lot of soul. It's the kind of bike that makes you stop and stare, even when it's parked, and it rides even better than it looks. You want rare? You want character? You want something that doesn't need a big logo to prove its worth? Then you're gonna love what's coming up next, because our #1 pick is the most overlooked 4-cylinder bike in existence, and it might just be the best value in the entire used market. Topping the list at #1 is the Kawasaki ZR7S. You've probably never heard anyone talk about it. You won't see it in showrooms, and yet this forgotten 4-cylinder sleeper might be the best deal in all of motorcycling. Period. Under the tank is a 738cc air-cooled inline-4 engine, pushing out around 75 horsepower and 50 pound-feet of torque. That's legit muscle, especially when paired with the bike's smooth 5-speed gearbox and easygoing road manners. It's not twitchy, it's not needy. It just pulls clean, steady power all the way through the rev range. The ZR7S isn't loaded with electronics, rider modes, or TFT screens. What it does have is reliability, simplicity, and a classic riding feel that modern bikes can't replicate. It's air-cooled, carbureted, and built like a tank. That makes it a dream for garage mechanics and old-school riders who'd rather wrench than tap through menus. And here's the stunner. You can regularly find clean, running examples for between $2,000 and $2,500. That's not just affordable, it's almost unbelievable. We're talking 4-cylinder performance, full fairing, solid chassis, and all-day rideability for less than what most riders pay for tires and gear. It never got a flashy ad campaign. It never became a cult classic. But that's exactly why it remains one of the best-kept secrets in the used market. If you want a bike that delivers pure function, classic vibes, and serious bang for your buck, this is the one. No hype, no pretense. Just a solid, capable machine that'll keep going long after trendier bikes have been scrapped. Let's talk about a few bonus bikes you should absolutely have on your radar. Not every hidden gem made the top 10, but there are still some killer deals floating around the used market if you know where to look. First up, the Honda CB500 series. Whether it's the CB500F, CB500X, or the CBR500R, this lineup is pure gold for budget-conscious riders. They're all built around the same ultra-reliable 500cc twin and offer a great balance of performance, comfort, and efficiency. Can't find one of our top 10? These are a rock-solid Plan B. Then there's the Kawasaki Z650. Light, nimble, and packing a torquey 649cc twin, it's basically a sportier cousin to the Versus, with more street focus and aggressive styling. It's a little more mainstream, but still offers serious value used, especially if you find one that's been babied. Looking for something with a cult following? The Suzuki SV650 is still one of the best middleweight V-twins ever made. First-gen models in particular offer incredible handling and engine character for between $3,000 and $4,000, if you're quick. And for cruiser fans, don't sleep on the Yamaha V-Star 650. These bulletproof machines fly under the radar and can often be found under $3,000 with low miles. They're simple, easy to maintain, and have that classic cruiser presence without the Harley tax. Bottom line, there's a whole world of value bikes out there if you're willing to look past the mainstream hype. Sometimes the smartest ride is the one nobody's talking about yet. So why are these bikes still hidden? And how do you find one for yourself? It comes down to one simple truth. The motorcycle industry is built on flash, not function. Big brands pour their marketing budgets into flagship models, the fastest, loudest, most high-tech machines. That means solid everyday bikes like the ZR7S or TU250X get buried under the hype. No viral campaigns, no influencer buzz, just dependable machines that quietly outlast the trends. Then there's the media. Reviews and magazines chase superlatives, most power, craziest tech, lightest weight. But bikes that focus on real-world rideability, they rarely make headlines, even when they deserve to. And let's not forget rider culture. People chase image, big names, big displacements, and aggressive styling. A bike that doesn't scream for attention often gets skipped, even if it rides 10 times better than something twice the price. So how do you beat the system? Start by looking at discontinued models. The ones that didn't sell well often had nothing to do with performance, just poor marketing or bad timing. Then check out bikes that were big overseas, but flopped locally. Imports with limited exposure often pack insane value once they hit the used market. Join forums. Find owner groups. The people who actually ride these bikes will tell you what they're really like to live with. That insight is priceless, and it'll steer you toward the real deals. Set up alerts on marketplace apps. Be patient, and don't shy away from a few scuffs or cosmetic flaws. Some of the best values are hiding behind faded paint and minor dings. At the end of the day, finding a hidden gem isn't about luck. It's about looking where no one else is paying attention. Think these hidden gems are rare now? Just wait. As prices climb and the market catches on, bikes like these won't stay cheap forever. The smart riders are already scooping them up, quietly, quickly, and without the hype. If you wait too long, they'll be gone. Or worse, overpriced and overhyped like everything else. So before you blow your budget on a showroom queen, ask yourself, are you buying a bike or buying the brand? Hit the next video, because what's coming might just flip your entire wish list upside down.